Hello, Namaste. I'm Jaya Palashri and I'm back again with the lessons that I've learned. I spoke about going with the flow. I spoke about boundaries. I was talking about boundaries and I continue to talk about boundaries. One of the most important and most essential lessons is setting boundaries. Many people ask, do you really need to set boundaries? And do you have to set boundaries with me? And things like that. Boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are needed. And in certain relationships, which are not meant to be, definitely strong boundaries are needed. There needs to be an understanding, and there's a need to know that, your space, your time should be respected, and nothing can come in the way of that. It took me this many years of my own life experience to learn and understand what boundaries are and how it has to be set and how we go about it. It's not been an easy journey for me. If I'm sitting here today and so confidently speaking without making notes, it's because these are the beautiful lessons that have been imbibed into my soul. We know that we come with nothing, we go empty-handed with nothing. But the lessons that I've learned is something that's marked and etched into my soul, and I take it with me. This has been my soul learning, and that's important, and that is what you need to understand and look towards dealing with. Now, talking about boundaries, I would often hear my elders speak about certain things and get upset, get annoyed. I wouldn't understand what they were talking and what they were saying and what they were doing. But today I know, I understand, and I equally tell the same to my kids. When I ask them to set healthy boundaries in relationships. For an example, I had met one of my son's friend, and I had sat down the young couple and I had told them, who were actually into dating, saying that you need to give each other space and you need to set boundaries. It is so essential. They looked at me like, what I'm talking and what are boundaries? And I said, don't look at me as, like a lady or an elderly lady giving you free gyan or free knowledge. It's with experience of life I'm talking. You both need space and boundaries. Otherwise, you're going to eat each other up alive. You're going to bite the head off. I tried explaining it to them. And one of them kind of got the hang of what I was saying, while the other was very adamant of sticking and not giving boundaries and giving, setting healthy boundaries. Unfortunately, the relationship didn't last. Such is an importance of setting boundaries. I'm not sitting here to talk about somebody else's life or relationship. Some relationships are meant to be and some are not meant to be. And some are going to be there for a season and some are going to be there only for a reason. And after that, you move on. Your journey continues. You are in someone's space for a season and a reason. And after that, the journey moves on. You cannot stop. It's just like flowing water. It's just like time. What you had yesterday, you're not going to have it today. And what you have today, you're not going to have it tomorrow. So this is something that you need to know and understand and value and accept. So when you're setting boundaries, this is essential, and focus on it. It is, the more you focus on it, the more you understand it, the better it is for you. See what is your weak spots. See where you need to work on yourself. Is it your confidence? Is it your love? And when I say love, I'm talking about your self-love. Is it respect? Is it esteem? Whatever it is, start looking at it and working on it. And as you start working, you start setting your boundaries. Remember, Rome was not built in a day. So take your time. Every day is a learning. Every day is setting and working on yourself. When someone hurts you, when you feel let down, when you feel this is it, I can't take it anymore, it's time to sit and understand, okay, now what do I do? Now, how do I go about it? Now, is there something else that I need to do? What did I do wrong, or what have I done to be in this space? It's very easy to point fingers and blame someone else, but it takes a lot to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, where was I wrong? What have I done wrong? When you start asking yourself these questions, and when you start looking at the various points about this, you would understand what kind of boundaries need to be set. Some relationships which are not meant to be, you could build strong boundaries which does not need to collapse, or which doesn't need anyone to come into. It's absolutely okay. You're not going to be lonely by doing that. Some relationships you will have to build, but you're going to be building boundaries which is more collapsible, and boundaries where you can allow someone to come in, but when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel that too much is happening, you could always close the boundary and get back into your space. Pick and choose and think what kind of boundary is important and how it needs to be done. Every relationship, I repeat this, every relationship needs boundaries. You need boundaries too for your own thought process. It could be you cannot have your plate full and try to pile more onto the plate. It's only going to spill and you're going to create a mess. So the same happens with your thoughts. Set boundaries there too. Work is work. Home is home. Set boundaries in a way that you're not letting things overflow into each other's space, so that you can savor the moments that you're experiencing within your own space. Now, setting boundaries is each one's choice. But when you're setting boundaries, sitting in denial and trying to say, I have boundaries and trying to sit in a space, that is not fact. Over you decide, you pick and choose what you want to do. You are the gatekeeper. You could allow whoever you wish inside, and you could close the door when you feel you don't want that person in your space for the moment, or maybe never. Whatever the reason is, when you set boundaries, these things are very important. At the same time, you need to know, you don't need to discuss this with others. You're not going to go around putting it up saying, I'm setting boundaries, I'm setting boundaries, I'm setting boundaries. This is your own thing. It's your personal space. You set boundaries how you need to set. You think what is right. Try to understand what works for you and do it in your own space. You could you could maintain a journal. You could do an exercise, but make it a daily practice. Boundaries have to be set daily. It's not like you set it once and then you forget about it. Every day, take time to introspect. It could be first thing in the morning or last thing in the night. Sit with yourself. Go through the day. Think of the people you've interacted with. Think whether, there have been lessons for you. Have you accepted it? Have you acknowledged the lessons? Every day there is a lesson. And then ask yourself the question, am I comfortable with this? Do I want to set a boundary? Do I want to bring about a change? Have I given too much power there? Do I want to bring it back into my space? These are the kind of questions you're going to be asking yourself. As you ask yourself these questions and you're setting boundaries, it would give you the sense of confidence. It would give you the sense of being empowered. It would give you the sense of knowing that you are on the right path on your journey, learning and imbibing the lessons and not failing yourself from whatever direction you are. Even if the first time you're trying to set boundary, if you feel you haven't done it the right way, it's okay. There's nothing right, there's nothing wrong, and there's no particular textbook written for you to follow to set boundaries. Like I said at the very beginning of one of my two episodes back where I spoke about boundaries. When you're setting boundaries, what works for you may not work for me. What works for me may not work for someone else. Know that and don't try to copy somebody else. You are unique. You are here to leave your footprints with the lessons that you've learned for the generations to come. So do it wisely. Think beautifully and understand what kind of boundaries that need to be set. I can go on and on about boundaries, and I think I'm actually going to put in another episode talking about boundaries before I move into the next topic. Now, when I'm speaking about boundaries, and one of the best, like what I spoke about yesterday, and the best platform for me where I totally understood and respected was through shamanism. The minute you start pulling your power back, the minute you start being very clear with your space, you would be able to set boundaries. You cannot set boundaries if the power is with someone else. Now, when I say power, I mean the ability to hurt you, the ability to put you down, the ability to kind of get your triggers up. So as long as somebody else has the remote in their hand and they can trigger you for something, your boundaries are very weak or not up. You need to focus. You need to understand before you set boundaries, pull your power back. How do you pull the power back? It's intentional. You can visualize a cord going between you and the other person, and visualize an imaginary scissor or a energetic knife and cut it from your navel and let go and pull that back and release it into violet fire, or just release it into the universe, whatever works for you. When you do something like that, you are consciously pulling back the power. And every time you pull the power back, you could go ahead and set the boundaries. And the more painful the lessons are, the stronger the boundary gets with time. You will learn that eventually, and you will start doing it the right way with time. So my today's talk, an episode about boundaries, comes to an end. I would love to hear what you have to say, and I respect it. Up until my next live show, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of it. And I will come back to you soon. Thank you.